What's happening? It's Brent Sills. You're talking turkey in a Tesla. Welcome. What's happening today? So here I am. I'm in Ottawa today. It's where I'm filming from, inside my car here in Ottawa. On my way to get myself a cup of coffee, and then I take a moment to talk to the world. It's been a while since I put up an episode of Talking Turkey, so see what's going on. So some big changes for me just came up in the last month or so. Some big changes. It's usually when I jump on and get excited to do these things is when I'm excited about big changes. So as you guys know, I came to Ottawa in the past to work with that tech company, the startup, and working as a consultant, vice president of sales for those guys, and learning lots of new things and having a great time. After a few months of doing that, I didn't want to continue on. I didn't want to renew my contract. I'd had enough of a taste of that world to know that it's there and that it's available to me, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And so, being as I'm not afraid to make changes, I actually went with another real estate company and was much more frontline. And I was doing listings for a real estate company called Purple Bricks, which I was with for the last, not quite a year, but with those guys. Spoiler alert, I'm not with them anymore. But I like them a lot. They're a great product and great value for their service. Fantastic, actually. So anyways, we'll go back to that later. So I was down in Florida, and I was on a family, winter vacation in Florida with my wife and visiting some friends and some family and just having a great time down in Florida. And I had in my mind that, I get really tired of the winters here in Canada, and as many people do. So anyways, I decided that I wanted to look at property in Florida. So I was down in Florida, and I thought about this for a number of years, thinking about, maybe this is the year that I'll get a place somewhere else, and I'll have an anchor somewhere, someplace always to go to escape the winter. So I was down in Florida, and everybody left, and I was on my own. I was staying in a hotel or whatever, and just bombing around. I drove down, so I'm driving around and enjoying all the great Tesla supercharging stations down there. They have lots, which was great. So there I was down there on my own and looking at property. And then I saw a couple things I was interested in, a couple things I liked. And the thought came to my mind as I'm driving around and I'm seeing all these older people that live down there. I was like, okay, have you done all the things you wanted to do before you buy a place in Florida and join the country club and sort of live that laid-back lifestyle? And I was like, well, to be honest with myself anyways, I've always wanted to be a performer. I've always wanted to entertain. I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to be a comedian, a stand-up comedian. All those things. I've always wanted to try those things, and I've never had the courage to go and try, which is crazy because I'm an entrepreneur. I've had plenty of I've tried so many different opportunities and things, and I've failed way more than I've ever succeeded. So I don't know why I was so frozen in fear to go and try this thing, but I was. And so I was so afraid that I wouldn't even go watch other people perform. I wouldn't go watch stand up at a comedy club because I felt embarrassed that that's what I wanted to do. So I had this negative thought process about it. Like, I'd barely even watch, a comedy video on Netflix because I'd be like, I should be doing that. I'm an idiot. So, yeah, great self-talk, Brent, from somebody that really knows how to talk to himself and make things happen. So I was sitting there in this hotel room, and I made a decision, and I said to myself, if I can't go to a comedy club, just go to one, I need to stop thinking about this and just put it away and go buy those, second set of golf clubs for Florida. So I was like, yeah, great, let's do that. So I looked up on my phone and I said, okay, I'm going to go to a comedy club tonight And if I if I feel some sort of inclination, if there's a sign, if you will, to point me in the right direction, I'm going to follow it. So that's what I had decided. And so I Googled. It was a Sunday night. I Googled, and off I went to a place called Laugh-In Cafe. I think it was called Laugh-In Comedy Club in Fort Myers, I believe that's where I was. So I went down there Sunday night, walked in, open mind, let's see what happens. If I get pulled in a direction, I'm going to go with it, and if not, I'm just going to put this to sleep and not think about it ever again and just move on and find something else to think about that I want to do. So I go. It was a horrific show. It was crazy. There was people that were just they were yelling out at the comedians, and it was hecklers times 10. It wasn't a very big crowd, being a Sunday, and anyways, it was pretty crazy to witness this show. And and the comedians, they still did their bits, and they still, they did a lot of crowd work, and they made it entertaining for the rest of us as best they could. And the headliner came out and really took control of the room, and really made the people that were disrupting the show, you realize afterwards that you were still laughing the whole time, because the seasoned comic knows how to work a room and keep things under control. So there I was, enjoying the show. And then afterwards, the comedian says, the headliner says, hey, for the next 2 days, we're putting on a workshop for anybody that wants to learn advanced stand-up comedy. And I'm like, well, I don't even know rudimentary stand-up comedy, so of course I want to learn advanced stand-up comedy. And I sign up. So I go to sign up, and he says, so we just sign up for the first day, and if you want to sign up for the second day afterwards, you can, and if not, that's okay. Just check it out the first day first. And I was like, no. I don't have commitment issues. I'll take the 2 days, thanks. Paid for it in full, good to go, and I'll see you tomorrow. So I show up the next day, and ready to learn and ready to figure this out. And the gentleman that is teaching us, the gentleman that was the comedian from the night before, as it turns out, is the original winner of Last Comic Standing. He's called Dat Phan. He's absolutely hilarious, and it turned out to be just a real inspiration and helpful mentor for comedy for me. And so the 2 days were horrific. They were awful. I'll post a clip because I want to keep it real and show people that this is exactly what I've done. Maybe it'll help one other person decide, hey, you know what, I always wanted to play my guitar in front of people, but I won't even play my guitar because I'm afraid to. Whatever, who knows, I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm going to post some stuff. So there I was, and I asked him after the 2 days of utter embarrassment. I said, hey man, I really want to learn how to do this. What do I got to do? And he says, well, you'd have to come to Los Angeles where you could work with me on a regular basis and perform daily, every day, sometimes more than once. That's where you're going to be able to figure this stuff out. Or you can go back home to Canada, back home to your hometown, and get on to your local amateur nights at your local comedy clubs, and maybe you'll get on once or twice a month, and in the next 5 to 10 years you'll figure out, if you stuck with it that long, how to make this work. Or you can come to Los Angeles and get on stage every single day, if not more, and people are just kind of driving crazy today. I've got to use my horn twice. So I was like, all right, that sounds great. I'll see you in a week. And he was like, bullshit, like, for sure. Like, obviously he's heard this before, and who's going to drop what they're doing and just go to Los Angeles. but he's never met Brent before. So Brent does crazy things sometimes, as I speak about myself in the third person. So off I went, and I went to this. I decided I thought I'll drive right across the country from Florida to California. You know, take Marty for a long drive, and then I realized that wasn't the best idea, because it was going to be like a 50 or 60 hour drive time. So take away sleeping and eating and all those other things. I mean, it'd take me a week to drive there or more. So I was like, okay, that doesn't seem like the best idea. So I decided to cut my Florida trip short, and I left the next day and drove back to Canada, and charged up the car, left it parked in the parking spot there in the garage, and off I went. And so took a flight, flew out to Los Angeles. I'd messaged my buddy Dat and said, hey man, I'm coming. And I'm sure he was like, sure you are. But no, I'm like, no, I'm really coming. And so I did. Off I went. I got there. I went there a day early. Sorry, my phone's blowing up right now. I don't know who's trying to get hold of me. So I went there even a day early. And I get there and I call him and I say, hey, I'm here. Just so you know, just so I'm good to go for tomorrow. We had a planned time for the next day to be in the studio and start to figure out how this all works. And he goes, great, you're here? Perfect. Come to the studio right now. I'm like, okay, all right then. I go to the studio. We meet, now we're meeting in Los Angeles for the first time after really a brief conversation in Florida. And he says, well, you're going to be on stage in about an hour. So I just wanted to see a little bit of your set before we go. And I was like, he puts me on his in his studio there. He's got a stage and everything set up, and sound system and lights and everything. And it's a professional setup here. And I go, okay, great. I don't have a set. Florida was the first time I ever got on a stage, and I have lots of ideas. But the very first thing you told me was you're not allowed to tell stories. Stories are not stand-up comedy. And I was like, so I don't know. And he goes, that's fine, it's all right. We'll see what we're working with. He goes, let's just see what comes to you naturally, and then we'll work with it, and we'll start to figure out where to go. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. And so he taught me how to like hold the microphone and take it out of the stand and introduce myself and that sort of stuff. And that very night, within an hour of meeting, I was on stage in Los Angeles doing stand-up or something, doing something. Had a microphone in my hand and I was on a stage and I wasn't singing, so I suppose I was doing stand-up. So that was wicked awesome fun. And then for the next week, we worked together daily, pretty much every day, and every evening we went to comedy clubs, and we went to different spots. We had one in particular that was like our home gym, if you will, our home dojo. Dad and myself are both into, or formerly, still are, I mean you always are forever, but into martial arts. And so we spoke a lot of the same language in regards to how it translated to comedy from martial arts, and probably the biggest thing was the respect that you learn and you have for your sifu, for your teacher, for your master when you're in martial arts. And so that really carried over, and right away we fell into a really nice rhythm of he's the mentor, he's the boss, and I'm the student, and I'm good at that, which is funny because I'm such an alpha, strong-minded, bold person, but I'm also respect somebody that has what I want and is doing what I want to learn how to do, and pay very close attention to them. So that's what I got to experience, which was great. And it meant that I was able to change quickly, develop fast, and work really hard, and not have a lot of ego and things attached to learning that can really elongate a process. So I feel like I got just about as much out of what turned out to be 5 weeks in stand-up comedy, from starting in Florida to finishing in Los Angeles, that you could possibly get. I can't think of much more that I could have done in that time frame to do even better, for me personally. So what it ended up turning into was me doing over 30 sets in under 30 days, and I think I probably ended up somewhere around 40 sets in 30 days. On the weekends, in many places, I was able to get multiple sets and able to get 15-minute sets, and which is very challenging, especially for somebody new. To do 15 minutes it's an eternity up there. But I'll tell you, 5 minutes is way easier after you've died for 15, and yeah, that's exactly what it is. So once you've done the 15s, the 5s seem a lot more palatable, and then I think you find your sweet spot where, right now, without trying to sound too cocky or precocious, right now I feel like after a month in comedy, doing it the way that I did it, I'm a 7-minute type person right now. I can do 7 minutes very comfortably. So that means that 10 minutes is right around the corner, and I think that once you get past the double digits, you're able to really start to put things together and develop some real material. So not there yet, but I can definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. But anyways, yeah, so to go back to, so I went to Los Angeles. I rented an Airbnb, 2 different ones. The one was only available for X amount of time. So the first place I stayed at was an apartment all to myself, just close to Burbank, and then the second place was a room I'd rented in somebody else's apartment, and that was equally, not as comfortable as having my own place, but it was very comfortable, and its location was right downtown Burbank, so I was able to walk around every night and enjoy the live music of downtown Burbank, and all the restaurants and nightlife and stuff was great there. So closed a little early for my liking. When you get back from doing comedy, it could be midnight or later, and not a lot of options, but luckily there was a couple things open and some late night delivery, so kept me satisfied. But anyways, so there I was, training with my mentor. I had written in my book before I'd even started this adventure. While I was in Florida, I'd written in my book that I was so happy and grateful to have now found a creative outlet and a mentor on or before February 6th, 2020. And that's exactly what had happened. February 6th was my return to work date, if you will, and I didn't want to return to work on February 6th. I wanted to become a comedian, or something, and that's exactly what ended up transpiring. So we were able to manifest that out of nothing. So far much that, the odds of meeting this one particular stand-up comedian whom also is willing and able to take on a mentee and teach them was absolutely unbelievable. The timing of it, that was the first time in a couple years that this that Dad had been in Florida, and on top of that, it was the first it was the only show that I had seen in a long time that I'd chosen to go to, and then this all transpired. And then for it to pull me into where I really needed to be, where I'd thought about going in the past but was too afraid to go and try on my own, which was Los Angeles. But it gave me an open laneway, a gateway into the LA comedy scene. With now I've met a dozen amazing, cool, supportive, awesome comedians, some actors, some really positive Los Angeles people that are like my new LA family, and I'm so grateful to have things unfold in this super positive way that now I'm just I'm just raring to go. I'm so excited. So anyways, after 2 weeks of learning and doing, Dat said to me, he says, I have a showcase coming up, and I'm inviting you to participate in the showcase if you'd like to perform at a big show, with over 100 people or more, and like, crazy. And I was like, wow, okay, perfect. And so that meant that I had the remaining 2 weeks to get ready for that. So I had a real target, and you put a target and a deadline, boy, you get things done. So I worked really hard, even harder, and focused, and it certainly wasn't easy. I had a lot of challenges to get through. The biggest one was really getting over myself and understanding that I'm enough, and that I'd have fun with it, and bring the joy and the fun into what I was doing, which is what I was totally lacking. I was trying so hard to do a good job and do, the techniques, if you will, the moves, if you will, to do them, that it was very much so limiting the fun that was coming out of me, so nobody else was having fun either. But once I got that under control, by about week 3, by about the third week is when that got under control, and then the last 4 or 5 days going up to the show were really good. I wouldn't say that like, hey, I'm gonna win an Oscar or an Emmy or something from the comedy I did on day 27 and 28 or 29 of my comedy career, but something changed, and I started to become comfortable on the stage, become comfortable with the microphone in my hand, to let go of whatever that is that you need to let go of to be free and to enjoy the process. So that was wicked awesome. Got to do that, and then the big show came along, and I did it. I performed at the iconic Ice House, one of the premier comedy clubs in Los Angeles. There's a handful of comedy clubs on the planet Earth that are of notoriety. The Comedy Store, of course, and the Improv, and just a small handful of comedy clubs, and that is one of them. Is the Ice House. We're talking Jim Carrey, we're talking Joe Rogan, we're talking my all-time favorite Robbin Williams, we're talking Letterman, Chappelle, like all these just iconic heroes of people that have done the things that I want to be able to do. And there I was in the same space as them, feeling that energy, and absolutely loved it. So my first performance was amazing. I got up and I did it, and I said my funny words, and people laughed, and it was for my first time in front of a big audience. I don't think I could have asked for a better experience. It wasn't a big bomb, which is, the big fear is that you're just gonna totally bomb, but I didn't, and so I'm super happy and proud and grateful that I was able to do that. I can do better and will do better in the future, that is for sure, but as of that show, I did it. So super exciting. I can't wait to do more. Pulling into the garage here. Can't wait to do more. Back in Ottawa now. It's going to be a different experience so far anyways. It's not as readily available to just jump on a stage and do stand-up comedy here. But I'll find my way, and I'll find some stages to get on. And in the meantime, I'm going to pursue my creativity even more so. So while I was away, I did end up quitting my real estate job with Purple Bricks that I've been with for not quite a year, but the last 7 or 8 months anyways. And they were like, "What? You're quitting? that's crazy. You did like 170 or more listings in the last 6 months. And I was like, yeah, but I need to perform. And, I'm at a stage in my life where, from my previous videos, I'm a real estate investor, business investor, and now it's time to invest in myself and find some things that really get me excited and try some stuff. And if I fail, who cares? And if I succeed, who cares, right? Either way, who cares? But at least it's going to be interesting, and that's what matters to me at this point, is that life is interesting, and that we enjoy doing it. You can tell I'm much more careful with parking the car. I don't think you guys knew about that one, but I smacked up the Tesla, just a little bumper bang, not too long ago. So now I take my time. There's always enough room. Happy and grateful that there's always enough room in my parking spot. Always enough room. Look at that. Perfect. Always enough room. There we go. Tells me to stop. Yes, so that's my story of spending 30 days in Los Angeles doing comedy for 30 days straight. And getting up many, many times, over 40 times, I'm sure. And now I'm back in Ottawa, and I'm going to pursue my writing. I'm writing a pilot TV show, and I'm writing a romantic comedy. And I've got a few other starts, but that's what I'm focusing on, is those two things. And then looking for stage time so that I can jump on stage and perform and work on my stand-up. And then, who knows, you might find me right back in Los Angeles sooner than later doing even more stand-up while I work these things out. So yeah, that's super exciting. I'm super happy and grateful for all these opportunities and for everybody's continued support, all my, 13 or 12 YouTube followers. I appreciate every one of you. And yeah, that's it. You guys have a wicked awesome day, and look forward to sharing more updates. Watch for my comedy clips. They'll be coming up shortly. Okay, all the best.